All right, let's move on to other things. Okay. Other kinds of wizards. Forms. Forms are useful because we can look at data, we can do things with it, and it doesn't tie up the thing. Remember, we talked about this back in week 1 and 2, I believe. If I open up a table like this and try to do something with it, then it ties it up. So there's lots of things that other people can't be doing with the data at this point. So it's not a very good way to look at this stuff. It's sort of cumbersome stuff. A form is nice because we can redesign it to make it look exactly like the paper copy that we may be getting the data from, or we can just make it more user-friendly. There's lots of reasons why we want to use a form. And they're easy enough to make with the wizard. So if I wanted a form for the adult information, just right there, middle of the ribbon, form wizard, what you want to start with. Pick the table that you want to do this off of. And it would be adults in this instance. Pick which fields you want to see in the form. You don't necessarily need to see all the fields. Sometimes you might want just fewer ones. In this case, we'll pick all, so we can just do that double right arrow. And then go on to next. And then this is showing you, giving you some crude idea of how the things are going to be laid out. The things in dark here are the field names, and the things in light are the field values themselves. So like this first one right here could be possibly the HHID, and this would be the real HID for the first record, and so on. There's also this layout. These are the two most popular. So you pick one. Now you can change all this stuff when it's done, so it's not you don't have to sweat the decision here. Let's just pick columnar because that's the one that people generally use. And go to next. What do you want to call this form? Again, pick some name that means something. And then say finish. And now we're in form view. That's a live view of the adult data. So if I were to go in there and change that person's date of birth, it would get pushed back to the table automatically. And if you're not happy with this layout, you can modify it. Now, the easiest way to modify something, over there on the left where it says View, Layout View is the one you want. And you get this sort of simple graphic user interface to redesigning the form itself. So this means I can now drag stuff around. So I could put adult ID up here, for example, like that. I can make them come closer together. And I'm not spending a lot of time getting things lined up, but you get where I'm going with this. Like that. Whoops, that's too small. There you go, and stuff like that. All right. So if you're used to using like Word or any of these modern applications, you know how to do this. So it's pretty straightforward there. Some things that you're going to want to do up here at the top of this is called the form header, this little blue area that you see right here. And you can do things to it. You can change the colors, not a lot, or I guess you can go into custom and do it yourself. Axis is not a very colorful thing. They're pretty dull. Anyway, you can change the color there. You can change the theme just like you can in PowerPoint. You can do that sort of stuff for Word. Over here on the right, there's a couple of useful things. You can put a title in there and put it wherever you want. You can put it like in the middle of it here or whatever, and then you can get rid of this thing and so on. Date and time, you can stick that up in the header too if you want. I don't know, for whatever reason, you can put that up there. So you can do some things up there to the header through that. And okay. You can also turn on data validation here, which is probably where you're going to want to turn it on. This is often where you're going to use it to update or add new information to the database, and so you want to ensure that it's as correct as possible. So something like adult education. I'm just going to click on that field, not the this is the label over here, this is the field over here, And up here on the right-hand side of the ribbon, property sheet. And click on the Data tab. And then down here, there's a validation rule that works like the validation rules we've talked about a couple of times already this semester. Education is some number between 0 and 24, so we'll just put less than 25. And then we'll send out, okay, we can give them a clue about what we want most. Okay, I'll just say number 1-25 or 24, actually. There we go. Something like that. So now if we try to put a bigger number in here, it won't let me. Okay. So we can do that sort of stuff. And just by the way, I don't think you've really seen these before. These are Boolean things down here. So check means true, unchecked means false. Access calls them yes, no fields. Why, I'm not sure, but they do. All right, and then lastly, you can do conditional formatting. There's not much you can really, okay. The only thing you can really do here is, remember when we came in through the wizard and it said, do we want this in column or justified or anything like that? This is where you can change that if you wanted to change it for whatever reason. And then on the last tab over here, format, your standard formatting stuff. If you want to change the font type, font size, font color, you can do that here. And, how do you want to justify fields and all that sort of stuff. And the other thing that you might want to do is conditional formatting. So the one I've been doing is this one. All right. So let's just say we want people who have more than 4 credit cards. We want that to show up in a different color. So you would just pick that. And again, it's just conditional formatting that we're used to doing. New rule. Okay. Well, let's try that again. Okay, there we go. It should be greater than, what did I say, 4? 3. Greater, I said 4 or more, right? Okay, so we don't have to say greater than 3 there. And then we can pick a color and a font, something like that. Apply, okay. And then I think, there it is, second guy right there. All right, so you can do that sort of stuff. So again, you'll spend more time than I just showed you here going through each one of those fields, carefully setting up validation rules and stuff like that, because this is probably where you're going to do this. Again, another thing to do is if you are getting your information from a paper form or something like that, it helps if this looks as close to the paper form as possible. That also cuts down on errors when people do data entry. All right. Now, I'll mention this here. I don't expect you to do much with it because it's very involved. There's another kind of editing you can do called design view. The book talks about this way more than I do. This gives you even more control over the design of the form, but it's very tedious, time-consuming, arcane, so I just don't have time to talk about it. But that's when they talk about the design view, this is what you can do in here. And again, you can do interesting things. All right? That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay. So that's a simple form. Sometimes I want to see information off of more than one table. I mean, that showed me that form I created there just showed me the information about the adults, but there's information that we have about those people that's not stored in that table. It's back in the household table, like their address, and can we call them, can we mail them, and all that sort of stuff, right? So we'd like to put that together in a form so that we wouldn't have to go back and forth between the tables or two forms and stuff like that, right? So we're going to create a form with a subform, and to do that, there's one trick that you need to remember. Start up the query wizard. Or not the query wizard, what am I saying? The form wizard. Okay. The first thing you should do is pick the fields that come from the one side. In this case, we've got households and adults. there's one household, and each household can have many adults, right? So you pick the information that you want from the one side first, and it'll make everything else work a lot easier. So you pick whatever information you want from the household to go in the adult form. So I don't know, we pick stuff like city, state, zip, phone number. You know, we'll put email in there too. How about that? All right. So anyway, you just pick the things you want from the what's called the master table, the one that when you get this one-to-many relationship, the one side. Then you pick the stuff that you want from the many side. So then I'll pick the adult table. And it's here someplace. There it is. And then whatever fields you want from that on your form. Well, in this case, I'm going to want pretty much everything. So I'm just going to do the double arrow thing. And then I've got HHID in there twice, which I don't need. So I'll come back and find the second one and take that out just because. Okay. Pick from the one side, pick from the many side. Done with all that. Next. And it's going to say, here's how I think it should be laid out. And that's the way we want it laid out. It'll come out nicely now. And then down here, we want form with subform. That's the best way to do this. And then just say next. And then again, you can pick. There's really not much difference between these two. I don't care. Pick one of them. It doesn't really matter. And then name for it. Okay. Now, what it's done differently. Okay, so up here's the household information. And down here is the information about the two adults. Now, this is the form view, and we can just go ahead and start editing this if we wanted to. If we want to modify this, make it a little bit cleaner, make it a little bit more user-friendly, again, the things that I showed you before hold here. Go into layout view, and then you can, start pulling stuff around, doing whatever you want to do. Phone number doesn't need to take up that much space. So on the one side, you have a lot of control over the layout. On the mini side, you don't. It's going to want to put it in a tabular format like that. So about the only thing you can do to make this a little bit more friendly is to, if I can get it right, it should be. I can make this bigger. Well, I thought I could. Yeah, there I can. Okay. And then, of course, you can narrow down some of these columns. So you can fuss around with that a little to get as much of the information on the screen at once. And so now you've got, up there you can see the household information, and down here is the information about the adults in that household. So this is kind of, and then we go back into form view, and there you go. Okay, and again, you can do a conditional formatting here. You can do data validation. You can mess around with the form header, and all that sort of stuff works the same in this form as the other one. Okay. So there's your forms. Any question about those? Okay, so it's your turn. So go on to practice 2, and in that one, I want you to build 2 forms, a simple form and then a form subform. All right, so give that a shot.